On my next problem, there is no GCF again, so I'm going to list out my factors, 1x and 8x, 2 times 4, and that's it, okay? My factors of C are 1 and 1. So now I'm going to pick from my list of 8x squared, and I'm going to pick, I always start from the bottom of my list, so I'm going to pick 2x and 4x. From my C's, I have to pick 1 and 1. I put them on top of each other vertically, and then I cross multiply, and that gives me 4x and 2x. Can I use 4x and 2x to get to my middle B term? That was the one that was a little bit elusive, right? I knew how to get the A's, I knew how to get the C's, I just didn't know how to get the B middle term. So now that I've determined that it's going to be positive 4x and a positive 2, that truly does get me 6x, yay! Then all I have to do is slide my signs in, and my answer is 2x plus 1 and 4x plus 1. Let's try that again. On the third problem, there is no GCF, so I'm going to list my factors of C, which is 1x times 6x, and 2x times 3x. My factors of 7 are 1 times 7. So I'm going to start at the bottom of my list. And the last time it got me in one try without any guesses, okay? So I'm going to try 2 and 3, and I'm going to try 1 and 7. Once I have those guessed, I'm going to multiply across and get 3x, and multiply across and get 14x. Using 3x and 14x, can I add with, let's see, my signs. My signs are different, so with different signs, can I add, or in this case subtract, to get negative 11? Yeah, with one of each sign, I can put a positive on the 3 and a negative on the 11. The sign of the 11 goes with the bigger product. It's the bigger product in red, not the bigger number in green. It's the bigger product out in red. Once I've got my signs on the red correctly, then my signs just slip in. And this is way better than the way I was taught when I was learning, because I don't have to worry about where my signs go. They just slide right in. Once I got them on the product correctly, it's very easy to get them on the number correctly. On this problem, I have a GCF of negative 2. Because there's a negative in the leading coefficient, I'm going to factor out a negative, which leaves me with positive 4x squared. Negative 10 divided by negative 2 is positive 5x. And positive 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. Okay, so this is still a hard trinomial because I still have a leading coefficient not equal to 1. So I'm going to list out my factors, 1x times 4x, or 2x times 2x. And then I have 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. Now I know my answer, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it down here at the bottom, has a negative 2 in front. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that down there so I don't forget it. Now there's one more little trick that I'm going to help you with right now. I'm going to show you a new trick that helps you save a little bit of time and choose and make sure you don't choose things that are not correct. Again, I told you always to start from the bottom of your list. So I'm going to put 2x and 2x, and then I have 2 and 3. Now, we've already factored out a GCF, correct? Sure we have. And in my guessed problem here, it looks right in the first factor that I have a 2 and a 2 next to each other. If I have two 2's next to each other, or two numbers that are next to each other that have a common factor, would that not imply that this has a GCF? Yeah, that would say that this has a GCF. So we know there isn't a GCF, so putting two numbers next to each other that are the same is actually not very helpful. So if you never saw that and you just went ahead and cross multiplied, it's going to be wrong anyway. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you to not pick that. 4 and 6, is that going to add to 5? No, so it's not going to work. But I knew that already because you should never put two numbers next to each other that have a common factor. So that's not going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this because I wouldn't actually pick this anyway. Would switching around the 2 and the 3 be helpful at all? Well, no, because then they're just still next to each other. So that's actually not helpful at all. Meaning the 2 and the 2 and the 2 and 3 don't go together. There's just too many common factors. Let's try the 1 and the 6. Well, same problem. Look, the 2 and the 6 are next to each other. So because the 2 and the 6 are next to each other, that would imply that there's a GCF. And we know that the problem doesn't have a GCF. If you don't believe me, you're always welcome to cross multiply 2x and 12x. Does that add to 5? No. But you should have known that because you should never have a 2 and a 6 next to each other. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get you to not pick things that aren't going to work. So because you're guessing, and that can be frustrating sometimes to guess, what I'm trying to help you do is not guess things that aren't going to work. So 2 and 2 is just not going to work. I'm going to have to go to 1 and 4. So I have 1 and 4, and I'm going to go back to 2 and 3. Should I put the 2 here? Well, nope, that's not going to work because the 4 and the 2 shouldn't be next to each other. So I'm not even going to try that one. I'm going to put the 3 here and the 2 here. I would never want to put two numbers next to each other from each of the lists that have a common factor. That's just not going to work. And if you don't believe me, well then try it and you'll see that it doesn't work. When I cross multiply here, I'm getting 8x and 3x. Can I use with one of each sign? Notice my signs are different. To get to be a positive 5? Sure I can. It's a positive 8 and a negative 3. So we have a positive slides in here and a negative slides in there, and I get x plus 2 and 4x minus 3. So once I taught you that trick that you never put two numbers next to each other that have a greatest common factor, given that you did the first step of finding greatest common factor already, then we got it in one step, in one try, because all the other tries wouldn't really make sense. On the next problem, it does not have a GCF, but we have x's in the front and y's in the back. We talked a little bit about this earlier, where if the x's go down nice and neatly, like x squared, x number, that's normal, right? But the y's also go up nice and neatly. No y's, one y, and two y's in the terms. Well, in this case, my solution is just going to have x's in the front and y's in the back. And I'm still just dealing with the numbers. So my factors of 8 are 1x and 8x, or 2x and 4x. My factors of negative 5 are, let's see, 1y times 5y, and one of those has to be positive or negative. The signs have to be different. Again, I told you to start at the bottom of your list, right? So I'm going to try 2 and 4, and then I'm going to try 1y and 5y. And then I cross multiply, I get 4xy and 10xy. Using one of each sign, can you get to a positive 6? xy. Sure I can. A positive 10 and a negative 4, and the signs just fall right in. So I get 2x minus 1y and 4x plus 5y in the first try. If you follow my rules of starting at the bottom of your list first, and then also don't put two terms next to each other that have common factors, you'll get your answer quicker. Last problem of this type has a GCF of 10. My factors of A are 1x squared times 6x squared, or 2x squared times 3x squared. My factors of 2 are 1 and 2. I told you to start at the bottom of your list, so we're going to try 2x squared and 3x squared first, and then I'm going to try 1 and 2. Now, before I put things down, should I put the 2 next to the 2? Would that be a smart thing to do? Well, no. So I'm not going to put the 2 there. I'll have to put it down here, which means the 1's got to go up there. So I save myself a guess there by not picking things that are not going to work. And I get 3x squared and 4x squared. Can I use those two red numbers to add up to the middle term, negative 1? Well, sure I can. With one of each sign, I know because these signs have to be different, because there's a negative on the C. So with one of each sign, I have a positive on the 3 and a negative on the 4, because the middle term's sign goes with the bigger product, and the bigger product is 4, and then the signs fall in. So my solution is 2x squared plus 1 and 3x squared minus 2. But please, please, please don't forget, I know it seems like it was a while ago, we factored out a GCF of 10, so don't forget that we need to include that on our solution.